Alright guys, time to be back again today. Hope you're enjoying your Monday so far, and another day, another spicy piece of Call of Duty drama to talk about surrounding today the Toronto Ultra. We'll go into this Methodz versus Minnesota ROKKR thing in a few minutes time, but first of all, we've got to talk about the Toronto Ultra and potentially a change that they could be making. This would be a very interesting one in my opinion. It would be one that kind of came out of nowhere. Of course, the Minnesota ROKKR home series is coming up this coming weekend, postponed for a week given the whole situation that's going on in Minnesota right now. But yes, given the whole situation's happened, it would be a big surprise to me to see Toronto Ultra make this change just a few days ahead of this event, given that they've made a lot of changes throughout the season. They seem to have been getting to a position where they had a pretty comfortable roster. But, you know, Classic being benched would be very strange, given that you could argue he's been their best player this entire season. Yes, Methodz has the best KD on the team, as we'll look at in a second, but in terms of players who came into this year kind of being not necessarily underrated, because he didn't necessarily perform very well last year, but yes, Classic's been very good on Infinity Ward games in the past. It's kind of continued this year. Given his role, he's honestly been very, very good. So it would be a very strange decision, but we'll go into that in a couple of minutes here. Like if you guys enjoyed the video, subscribe if you're new as always. I would greatly appreciate it. Let's hop into this clip then here from Crone at CDL Intel. I'll play it on screen. Listen out for the Ultra people that are speaking in the background. I believe this first clip we hear Looney, then we potentially hear Classic, and I'm not sure, maybe it's Classic himself, but Looney in the first clip talks about Nick, that being Classic. I think Methodz is heard right at the very end as well.
I wonder what the fuck's gonna happen right now with my team. Nick, that ass dipped.
Oh, Stream's still alive, by the way. Ooh,
Oh,
you?
shit.
Yeah. Oh, shit.
I mean, it's fine.
Wait,
Wait, what happened? Nick's out of there, bro?
So, these are the Toronto Ultra event results so far. Their season didn't start off particularly well, but they are a very, a very respectable team, and they do quite often take very good teams to Game 5s, and even had a great result of the Florida home series when they won a couple of big series in that one to make it to, to top 4. Could have been the grand finals if there'd been an OpTic Gaming Los Angeles in that Game 5 round 11 on ROKKR Peak. But yeah, Toronto, they're a solid squad. They have this squad of Methodz, Classic, Cammy, Bance, and Metals right now. Earlier in the season, they had Looney, but Looney went out, and, you know, they brought Metals back into the squad after they made this whole Banter change after, well, for the London event just at the start of the season. They seem to be pretty confident with this roster right now, and Classic's been in the team for a while and has been arguably, as I said, one of their better players, right? And we can look at their stats right here. Yes, Methodz has a 1.15, but overall the series they've played, Classic and Cammy have both been very solid. I think that if anything, Classic has maybe had more impact in terms of taking over important games when it matters. And yeah, I've been very impressed with him, to be honest, so far this season. I definitely think he's an underrated aspect of this Toronto Ultra team. So getting rid of him would be really, really strange. As you hear from that clip, like Looney's like, yo, what's happened to Nick? He seems like he's out of the team, and I don't know what this situation is. I'm not sure if this is a management thing, because, you know, the way Looney says it, like he dipped, almost sounds like Classic decided to bench himself or something like that, which of course would be a very strange decision given how this team was performing, right? And you'd have thought that given Classic bringing out the Uzi, bringing that into the meta, Envoy kind of copying that and bringing it also into the Huntsman scrims, you would imagine that Classic is, you know, obviously a really solid player on this squad right now, happy to look into some other guns and try something out as they did with the Rampart last year. Then again, you could say that the fact he's trying these things out shows that maybe he's not too comfortable, maybe it wasn't working and he's decided to bench himself. But, yeah, I'm not sure what's going on. We'll have to wait for confirmation in the coming days. Intrigued to hear your thoughts on this down in the comment section below, because it doesn't really make too much sense. It's not like some of these other changes we've seen so far this season, if it does go through, where you can kind of see where it's come from. This one, there must be some reasons behind the scenes that we're not currently aware of why this would go down, because on the surface, it's not very clear at all. Like, the Looney change you could kind of justify, given the stats he was putting up and all this kind of stuff. And also, I guess you have to ask, who's going to come in for Classic, right? Because Looney says in that first clip, the way he says it kind of doesn't imply that he's going to be the one stepping into that starting lineup, right? It kind of implies that maybe someone else. So could be someone, of course, on this substitute bench. And they have a lot of players. You've got Brack, you've got Looney, Lucky, Kleenex, and Mayhem. So in terms of the best players to fill Classic's role, you know, you could bring Looney back. Maybe Kleenex could be the best target. I think he's been doing kind of well in their scrims lately. So that's certainly an option that they might be considering here. So yeah, we'll have to see if that happens this upcoming weekend. They have a pretty, well, a group that they should be relatively confident in. It's got the Huntsman, but the other teams are certainly beatable, I would say, for a team like Toronto. But without maybe much practice, if they do change their lineup, that could all change very, very quickly indeed. So yeah, intrigued to hear your thoughts down below on this one. And then let's talk about this drama with Anthony Methodz Zinni. So for whatever reason, a lot of the ROKKR guys last night kind of came at him on Twitter. Just another day, another quality bit of Twitter drama to discuss. So Assault at Methodz, he puts the dot before it so everyone can see this, not just particularly people who follow Assault and Methodz, and of course Methodz himself. Anthony Zinni, total prize money earned $89,000 or whatever. I guess he's just taking a dig because Assault, of course, is a world champion, won a lot of money at the World War II World Championships. Seems like a good bit of cash though. To some, maybe this looks a hell of a lot nicer, so he shows his own one, 258,000. Then you've got this from Silly, of course, where they beat the OpTic Gaming team with Methodz on at the World Championship in World War II. They had to 3-0 this series, did Evil Geniuses, to even get out of their group. They did manage it. The OpTic Gaming team just collapsed. They came top 24. And, of course, Evil Geniuses went on to win that World Championship. So you've got this one. You also have this from GodRx saying Methodz thoughts. You guys might remember, I think it was Anaheim last year, but I forget exactly what event it was. I'm pretty sure Methodz was on the UYU team, because I seem to remember it being Simp clutching this 1v2, but I couldn't find the clip. I looked for it for a little bit, but I couldn't seem to find it. But if you guys might remember last year, Black Ops 4, there was like a 1v1. I thought it was Simp, but maybe I'm wrong, against Methodz around this like jet over here with this head glitch. It was a pretty horrible gunfight that Methodz ended up losing, and that's kind of haunted him to this day. And when people show this, people remember that 1v1, I think it was, maybe it was a 1v2 turned into a 1v1, Methodz versus, I thought it was Simp, with the pistol in hand, I believe. So yeah, obviously, not too happy with this. Then we get a reply. So GodRx says, "You've been playing great recently, brother. Keep up the good work," and shows this scoreboard from EasyMac. You guys can't quite see this probably because it's super small, but it says GodRx 0.85 KD when they played against Toronto most recently. Methodz with the 1.6. So, Methodz clapping back. Methodz popping 1v3s on main stage here against the Minnesota ROKKR. Then GodRx replies again, "Yeah, everyone has bad events. Great observation." And I'm not going to say that on stream because, it's family-friendly show right here. But yeah, so obviously GodRx not particularly happy with this situation. And I don't really know where all this beef and drama has come from particularly, because it seems like the ROKKR guys aren't particularly happy with him. I don't know. There just seems to be no reason to go at a guy like Methodz like this, given that, it's not like Minnesota's tournaments have been so great recently, right, anyway. And GodRx's performances have kind of fallen off from the start of the season. So this tweet, of course, since deleted, as you might expect. And Methodz says, "You've had 3 in a row. We call that a hat trick." So, just absolutely frying here on the Twitter sphere. And Octane then asked the question, right, why are you getting rocked right now, or rocked right now? Because I'm having them in scrims bad. So it seems like they've been scrimming. What I really want to know is what Toronto team have they been scrimming with, right? Minnesota scrimming them with this classic team, or have they got some sort of replacement in? Is it because they've had this replacement that they've come up trumps and are even better now and are beating Minnesota? Like, those are questions that hopefully we will discover in coming days. Also have them very bad in the actual match. GodRx is a little upset because he went for the top 5 convo to top 50, which is kind of funny, right? Because start of the season, we've been talking about GodRx for, maybe a couple of months ago now. We were talking about GodRx as a potential top 5 player. Definitely right up there, dropping huge numbers, carrying Minnesota at times to impressive tournament placings as they did earlier in the season. A couple of grand finals they've had. However, more recently, it hasn't looked so good for him. And, he's kind of dropped out of that conversation. Other players have come into it that have stepped up to the plate more recently. You've got the whole, the Envoy situation right up there. Simp, Selim, all these guys. GodRx, you don't really hear his name too much around that conversation anymore, given the last couple of events haven't been so good. So, Methodz taking a dig at that. Then Methodz says this, "So how's everyone doing today? Your Toronto boys ain't backing you up. I'm seeing you get clobbered in. Deadass, they jump in my man on the timeline." Wait, was this an absolute 1v3? Had plenty of time to defuse as well. So yeah, none of his either Toronto guys coming to get his back in this whole drama that we see going on over the last few nights here. And Blaz, Zin right now, taking on the entire troop. So yeah, intrigued to see what you guys think about this in the comment section below. And just to mention here before we finish, this tweet from Crimsix, how to judge whether something should be nerfed or not. Because a couple of days ago, of course, just a couple of minutes ago now, we talked about the Uzi Classic, potentially introducing that to the meta. Is he still on the team? Who knows, right? But the other side of that video I made a few days ago was the Growl, and Wuskin potentially using the Growl in scrims, having some good results with it up against the Chicago Huntsmen. A gun you see a lot of in Warzone, of course, and potentially being introduced to the competitive meta here in Modern Warfare. Everything's up in the air right now, though. Who knows what will be pulled out of next weekend's Minnesota event. But the M4 clearly the dominant AR. Growl certainly up there, seems to be pretty competitive. But Crimsix and maybe other pros don't seem to be particularly happy with it in the game right now. They say that how to judge whether something should be nerfed or not. Maven with Growl versus Octane with Growl. Results top up. Both can shoot it equally as well. The gun is skillless and doesn't feel rewarding at at all. And again, Octane says, this isn't a top-up. Baldy wins this 9 out of 10 times. Agree, Grau is OP. So, you know what this means, guys? The most likely situation is that in either coming days or weeks, the pros will decide that the Grau is skillless and therefore shouldn't be used in competitive play and lowers the skill gap, and we should go back to the M4 MP5 meta. That is probably what the pros will do, but I'm intrigued to hear your thoughts on this down below. I'm kind of happy to, at least we get to see one event, hopefully, this weekend, where people can pull out the Grau, people can pull out the Uzi, people can try other things, we'll see what happens, and then maybe, okay, if the pros decide the Grau has to go, like, whatever, I'm sure we'll talk about that, and then at least we get a solidified meta leading up to champs. But it's kind of fun at this kind of the time of the season, about halfway through, that people try and, you know, start trying out different things and see what works, as champs is just around the corner. So whether the pros will decide this deserves to be GA'd, that's a topic for another day, I'm sure. But intrigued to hear your thoughts on all this stuff down in the comment section below. Like if you guys enjoyed the video, subscribe if you're new as always. Thanks for watching, I'll see you next time.